Oh yeah, this got me sad. This one got me sad. Donald Glover to retire Childish Gambino alias. It's not fulfilling. Don't make music that you're not super excited about. This is not an objective view, but honestly, like, why else are we doing this? Why are we making music? Why do we continue to put ourselves out there, right? Like, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it's not going to be fulfilling. And maybe he did this last album and it was just like, I'm just doing it because people want it. And when he probably started it from a place of like true desire. I'm curious to read more of this article, but yeah, like if you're an artist, you're making music, I feel like it's way harder to put yourself out there when you don't feel really good about your music, right? No matter how many hours it takes, like we saw with this Stevie Aoki article, you want to feel good about it because people are going to engage in your growth as an artist, not necessarily with how top notch it is. Yeah, if you're not making music that you're like super excited about and like feel really passionate and like you want to put out there and you want to put your face and your name on it, why should you expect other people to get as excited and invest their time and money and energy into what you're doing? I feel like the first box you need to check is you sleeping good at night, knowing that you're proud of what you're doing. Let's continue here. Donald Glover has put an end to speculation and announced that he is retiring the Childish Gambino alias. The final album of the Childish Gambino era, Bando Stone and the New World. The record follows the release of 2 recent singles from the project, the rock-tinged Lithonia and In the Night, which features Amare and Georgia Smith. Those are fantastic songs. In a new interview with the New York Times, Glover revealed the reason for his decision to leave the moniker behind, explaining it was really just like, oh, it's done. It's not fulfilling. And I just felt like I didn't need to build in this way anymore. He did it. He did all the things. Other reasons cited by Glover included increased difficulties of making an album in the modern day, with a huge set of obligations, including his ongoing film and TV projects. He also spoke about the decline of album consumption in the modern day, as well as increased difficulties with touring schedules. So everyone's TikTok brain is, 5 seconds long. And to grab someone's attention, to sit them down for 45 minutes, an hour, uninterrupted, and listen, I feel like it's a very mature listener that does something like that. And again, it's just where the world is going. Technology is pushing our attention span in a shorter direction, but also at the same time, like, albums are kind of something of the past in the sense of like when there was one way to consume music, through one big record, everybody that bought your record listened to the whole record. They get their money's worth. The idea of buying an entire record, right, or a CD or something, like, even when you got CDs, you just listened to the good ones. And that was like in the early 2000s, late 90s. So I see his point here where he's talking about, well, people aren't really listening to albums anyways. Why would I put thousands of hours into creating this when he's probably getting his message across much better in the show Atlanta? He's probably adding to the conversation of social topics like he wants to via television, where people will sit down for hours and days, consume entire weeks just like catching up with the season on something, versus an album where it's not as like visually engaging and it's not as like, fun or cooperative, I guess. So I think they've splintered into 2 different directions where people's attention span for television and movies has gone up like significantly, and people's attention span for music has gone down. And that's why me and every other electronic music artist out there, the best road to getting new fans and reaching new people is singles. And you'll do an EP. I'm doing an EP later this year, but the first 2 tracks are coming out as singles to create the hype. I understand the progression of music consumption, but I miss the well thought out cohesive album era. Yeah, no, and that's a lost art. That really is a lost art. There has to be a new creative, interactive way to keep people engaged with just music alone for an extended amount of time. Whereas like with TV and movies, it's a little more interactive, and I think there's just more people involved in general. Let's keep going here. His co-manager, I'm going to butcher this, Udiorji, said that he wants people to listen back to Glover's new album in the future and remember what they felt like in the summer of 24. Hot. Very hot. Bando Stone and the New World is to be the soundtrack of a forthcoming movie by Glover, which will share the same name as the project. Set in apocalyptic times, the film's release date is yet to be announced. His album is a promo for his movie. Kind of tying back into what I was saying. Glover recently released a surprise album, Atavista, which is said to be a finished version of his 2020 project 31520. He also recently confirmed the dates of his 2025 New World Tour, which will see him play across the UK, Europe, and Australia. Yeah, so I don't blame him. If what you're doing and you're putting hours and hours of work, thousands of hours, and like, think about when you're this big, when you're Donald Glover big, there's teams of people involved with what you're doing, right? So not only are you taking up all of your time and energy, you're taking up other people's time and energy away from their family and their friends and what they could be doing with their life. And only for you to just be like, that was cool. You know, like, stop doing that. Do something that gets you engaged and that gets you excited, you know? Yeah, that I'm very passionate about that topic in general. I always think artists should be doing it for themselves first, no matter what. But when you look at someone like Childish Gambino, very, very unique personality, very unique brand. And at the time when he was doing the Childish Gambino thing in his initial era, he was able to deliver in a way that nobody else could, which made it so captivating in a way, right? And then Atlanta comes out. Atlanta captivates social commentary probably in multiple dimensions greater than his music does.